I pull into my parents' driveway at exactly 5:45 p.m., right on schedule. The quiche balances warm against my palm, filling my car with the scent of caramelized onions and Gruyere. For 9 years, I've never missed a Sunday dinner, not even when the Dearborn account kept me at the office until midnight 3 days straight. Family comes first. That's what Mom always said. Through the windshield, I spot Dad's Lincoln and Mom's Buick, parked neatly side by side as always. But something tightens in my chest when I notice Ellis's mud-splattered pickup truck angled across the far end of the driveway. My brother rarely shows for these dinners, claims his construction business keeps him too busy on weekends. What's the special occasion? I murmur to myself, gathering my purse and the still warm dish. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows across the perfectly trimmed lawn of my childhood home. White clapboard siding, green shutters, brass knocker that Dad polishes every spring. A picture from a 1962nd family sitcom, updated with my mother's prized hydrangea bushes flanking the walkway. I'm halfway to the front porch when voices drift through the partially open kitchen window. The familiar cadence of family conversation pulls me forward, but something in the tone makes me slow my steps. She won't say no. Dad's voice, confident and firm. She never has. But 70,000? For surgery costs? Mom's voice holds a thread of worry. If we time it right, Ellis cuts in. Tell her it's an emergency. Like last time with my investment. My fingers go slack. The quiche wobbles, almost slips from my grasp. I clutch it tighter, feel the aluminum pan bite into my skin. The cold realization washes over me like winter rain. They're talking about me, planning how to ask for money, calculating how to ensure I'll give it. I back away silently, one careful step at a time, as if retreating from a sleeping bear. My breath comes shallow and quick. In the safety of my car, I pull out my phone with trembling fingers and type, "Emergency came up, rain check on dinner." The engine purrs to life, and I'm gone before anyone comes looking. Sunday dinners. For 9 years, I've arranged my entire life around them. Declined weekend conferences that could advance my career. Rescheduled client meetings. Worked 65-hour weeks as senior strategist at Reynolds & Quinn to keep my Sundays sacred. Because family matters most. Memory surfaces like a bubble from dark water. Mom and Dad at my kitchen table 3 years ago, explaining how the roof needed immediate work. 38,000 is a lot, honey, but the whole thing could collapse in the next big rain. I'd written the check that day. The roof never got fixed, but they did redo the kitchen with high-end appliances. I'd noticed, but said nothing. Then Ellis, 8 months later, sweating through his shirt as he explained his can't-miss cryptocurrency venture. Just 15,000 to get in now, Mar. I'll double it in 6 months. I transferred the money that afternoon. Never saw a penny back. You're so successful, honey. Mom would say, patting my hand across the Sunday dinner table. We're just so proud, Dad would add, pouring me another glass of wine. And I believed them. Back in the car, my hands shake on the steering wheel as I drive toward downtown. The harbor glimmers beyond the skyscrapers, catching the last light of day. By the time I turn into the underground garage of my building, my fingers have steadied. In my apartment, I kick off my heels and pull out the files. 9 years of careful documentation. I've always been meticulous with financial records. The expandable folder contains every check, every wire transfer, every loan that was never repaid. I spread them across my dining room table, a mosaic of exploitation. The pattern emerges with painful clarity, the flattery before each request, the manufactured emergencies, the artful guilt if I hesitated. The trembling in my body stops entirely. Coldness settles in its place, not fear, but certainty. I reach for my phone. Geneva? It's Marlowe. Remember that Sydney position we discussed? My parents call 3 times while I'm on the phone with Geneva, then twice more as I methodically review the financial records. They leave identical voicemails, my father's voice warm with concern. Sweetheart, we were expecting you. Your mother made your favorite dessert, the lemon meringue pie with the graham cracker crust, just how you like it. Call us back when you can. I play the messages on speaker while cataloging the total. $147,000 over 9 years. College fund for my niece that never materialized. Emergency gallbladder surgery for Mom that her insurance mysteriously didn't cover. Business expansion loan for Ellis. Roof. Water heater. Basement flooding. My finger hovers over the delete button for each voicemail. The lemon meringue is a nice touch. They know it's my weakness. I'm risking everything, the only family relationships I've maintained through my adult life. My parents, my brother, Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings. The familiar rhythm of family obligation that has defined my existence. They don't miss me. I whisper to the empty apartment as the harbor lights blink on outside my window. They miss their ATM. The next day, at the office, the bank statement lies before me, coffee forgotten at my elbow. I rub my eyes, certain I've misread something. But the evidence remains stubbornly unchanged. A $38,000 withdrawal followed 2 days later by a $36,472 charged to Oceania Cruise Lines. Mediterranean getaway. Master suite. Shore excursions included. I slump in my chair, breath caught in my throat, a physical pain blooming beneath my ribs. The roof that supposedly needed emergency repairs never existed. The crisis that sent me scrambling to liquidate my first major investment bonus was nothing but a vacation plan. My hands move mechanically through the accordion file where I've documented 9 years of financial emergencies. Behind the roof folder sits another labeled, Ellis, Business Investment. I find his bank statements too, statements I should never have had access to except he'd listed me as a reference on a rental application last year. The $15,000 I provided for his can't miss opportunity went directly to Blue Sky Casino to cover markers he'd left unpaid for months. When the email surfaces, an actual email from Mom to Ellis with the subject line approaching Marlowe, something cold and foreign settles in my chest. Remember to mention the kid's future. She always softens when you talk about their college fund. Best to catch her right after work on Wednesday. She'll be tired and less likely to ask too many questions. I sit perfectly still, staring at the screen. This wasn't opportunistic. This wasn't occasional desperation. This was coordinated, deliberate, and ongoing. A family business where I was the only investor and never a shareholder. Marlowe? Geneva's voice breaks my concentration. She stands in my office doorway, Pamela from HR beside her. Are you ready? I nod, closing the laptop. The Sydney transfer paperwork waits on my desk, international relocation forms nearly complete. Geneva takes the chair beside mine while Pamela walks me through tax implications and housing allowances. My phone vibrates against the desk for the 5th time in 20 minutes. Dad again. I silence it without looking. Your brother called the office 3 times today asking for your new cell number. Pamela mentions casually, sliding another form across the desk. I told him company policy prevents us from sharing personal contact information. The pen freezes in my hand. He called here? For my number? 3 times, Pamela confirms. Quite insistent. Said it was a family emergency. Geneva's eyes meet mine. She knows enough, not everything, but enough. There's something else. Geneva says quietly. Your parents contacted our investment division this morning. They attempted to access your retirement accounts, claiming a medical emergency required immediate funds. The room tilts slightly. I grip the edge of my desk. Fortunately, Barbara recognized your name and called me directly. Geneva continues. Whatever's happening, you need space. The company apartment is available immediately if you need it. I nod, a short, jerky movement that feels mechanical. Thank you. I might take you up on that. After they leave, I call my bank. The representative's voice turns cautious when I explain the situation. Miss Greaves, I'm seeing multiple login attempts to your accounts from unrecognized devices. And someone called yesterday claiming to be you, requesting a password reset. That wasn't me? I whisper. We suspected as much, which is why we flagged the account. She hesitates. The caller had your social security number and mother's maiden name. My stomach drops. Ellis. He'd helped with my taxes last spring when I was overwhelmed with the Dearborn account, insisted on it actually. I'd been grateful then. Back at my apartment, I changed the locks. The spare key my parents have from emergencies now opens nothing. I closed the joint checking account they've had access to since my college days, an account I've never bothered to remove them from out of some misplaced sense of trust. The real shock comes when I pull my credit report 2 days later at the bank. 3 loan applications in the past month, all using my information. A mortgage refinance, a car loan, a personal line of credit. The addresses on the applications are my parents' home and Ellis's apartment. My entire life feels suddenly fragile, constructed of nothing but their expectations and my compliance. Every professional achievement undercut by their constant financial drainage. Every boundary I thought existed revealed as nothing but suggestion, easily overstepped when inconvenient. When my attorney Nadine arrives at my office 2 hours later, she listens without interruption, makes notes with sharp, precise movements of her pen. First steps: emergency credit freeze, identity monitoring service, and documentation of every unauthorized attempt. She says finally, "I'll have cease and desist letters drafted by morning." Can they really do this? I ask, hating the tremor in my voice. Nadine meets my eyes directly. Someone close to you has been planning this for years, Marlo. The question isn't what they can do, it's what you're finally ready to do about it. As I changed the locks on my apartment, I wondered, should I confront them immediately with what I'd discovered, or quietly disappear from their lives? Confrontation might provide closure, but silence would protect what little I had left. What would you do when the people who should love you most have been methodically using you for years? That same night, I jolt awake at 3 a.m, my phone vibrating against the nightstand. The screen glows with Ellis's name for the 4th time tonight. I silence it, adding his number to my growing block list. Sleep won't return now. My laptop sits open on the coffee table, spreadsheets of financial damage illuminated in the darkness of my temporary apartment. Geneva arranged it yesterday after Ellis started calling my colleagues. "She's having a breakdown," he told my team at Reynolds and Quinn. "We're organizing an intervention. Family concerns." I'd walked into an emergency meeting with HR the next morning. Linda from accounting looked at me with pity while Peter from legal avoided eye contact entirely. "Your brother has contacted several departments," Geneva explained, her voice steady. "He's worried about your mental health." My stomach twisted. He's lying. I laid out the evidence, the overheard conversation, the financial records, the pattern of extraction. Geneva nodded while taking notes, her face transitioning from concern to cold anger. "I've known you for 7 years, Marlo. You're the most stable person in this building." By afternoon, security had instructions to block my family from entering the building. They came anyway. Rachel's voice crackled through my office phone at 4:17 p.m. "Your parents are in reception. They've brought the photo albums. They're telling everyone you're having some kind of episode." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What are they saying?" "That you've cut contact suddenly, that you're paranoid. They're showing baby pictures to prove they're your parents. Should I call security?" Through the glass walls of my office, I could see Geneva already striding toward reception, shoulders squared. Rachel's voice returned minutes later. "Geneva handled it. Your mother was crying dramatically when security escorted them out." I sank into my chair, hands trembling despite my resolve. "Thank you." "Miss Greaves is unavailable indefinitely," Rachel had told them. I'd never heard sweeter words, but that was just the beginning. The next morning, my college roommate Vanessa called. "Ellis reached out to me on Facebook. He's worried about you. Says you're experiencing paranoia and cutting off family. Do you need help?" Then my neighbor. Then my cousin in Seattle. I discovered credit card charges for subscriptions. I never authorized streaming services, meal deliveries, online gaming platforms. Hours on the phone with fraud departments followed, my voice growing hoarse as I explained again and again. No, I didn't make these purchases. When my bank statement arrived addressed to my parents' home instead of my apartment, the final piece clicked. They'd redirected my mail without consent. I began documenting everything in meticulous detail. Each unauthorized charge, each manipulative message, each attempt to undermine my credibility with friends and colleagues. The evidence filled a dedicated folder on my laptop labeled simply, "Proof." Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Each night brought new violations to address, new safeguards to establish. I caught myself checking the locks 3 times before bed, jumping at unexpected sounds outside my door. During a particularly dark night, doubts crept in. Was I overreacting? Had there been misunderstandings I'd overlooked? 9 years of family dinners hung in the balance against the evidence before me. Then Geneva arrived at my door unannounced, takeout bags in hand. "You haven't been eating," she said, brushing past me into the kitchen. "I can tell." She unpacked containers of Thai food while I stood awkwardly in my own temporary kitchen. "My mother did the same to my sister," Geneva said, handing me a plate. "You're not crazy and you're not alone. The Sydney team is excited to meet you." She didn't stay long, but her matter-of-fact support steadied something inside me. 2 days later, my phone rang from a blocked number. Curiosity overcame caution, and I answered. Marlo. Ellis's voice sounded strained. We need to talk. We're talking. It's serious. I'm facing embezzlement charges. I need $270,000 to make this go away, or I'm looking at prison. The audacity stunned me silent. Family helps family, he continued. That's what you've always done. Something broke loose inside me, not fear or guilt, but clarity. I overheard enough. I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I gave you my signing bonus, my savings, and you plan to rob me blind. I'm not helping. You don't understand the pressure. The pressure of what? Gambling debts? Another failed scheme? His tone shifted from confident to desperate. Mom and Dad said you'd help if I mentioned prison. They helped me practice what to say. I hung up, a strange lightness spreading through my chest. The relief of finally saying no felt like shedding a concrete overcoat I'd worn for years. Nadine, my attorney, worked swiftly to establish comprehensive protections with my financial institutions. We're creating a fortress around what's left, she explained, her efficiency comforting. While my family grew increasingly threatening voicemails promising legal action, emails questioning my sanity, my professional network proved their loyalty through concrete actions. Geneva expedited the international transfer paperwork, securing temporary housing in Sydney until I found permanent arrangements. The company apartment has a harbor view, she mentioned casually. You'll need somewhere peaceful to land. Each day brought new strength. I noticed myself standing straighter in meetings, making eye contact without flinching, speaking with renewed conviction. As departure day approached, I methodically prepared each element: legal protections, financial safeguards, career transition documentation. Nadine had gathered evidence of potential identity theft, carefully organizing it for legal countermeasures if necessary. They've given us everything we need to protect you, she noted. Their desperation makes them sloppy. On my final night in the temporary apartment, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Through the peephole, I saw my mother Doreen standing alone, tears streaming down her face. I took a deep breath and opened the door. I invite my mother into the apartment with a calm I've practiced for days. The space is half-empty boxes stacked by the door, artwork removed from walls, leaving behind rectangles of unfaded paint. Only the essentials remain: a chair for her, one for me, and a coffee table between us like neutral territory. You've already started packing, she says, her voice catching. Her eyes, so similar to mine in shape if not in honesty, scan the barren walls. Yes. I stand near the door, maintaining what Nadine called strategic positioning. The voice recorder app runs silently on my phone, face down on the side table. Would you like some water? She shakes her head, clutching her designer purse bought with the money I gave them for property taxes last spring. I make a mental note to add it to my spreadsheet later. Marlo, honey, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Her hands flutter to her throat, where a gold necklace I bought her for Christmas catches the afternoon light. Your father and I never meant. The 17th of July, 2022. I interrupt, voice steady. $38,000 for a roof that was never replaced. Her practiced tears falter just for a moment. The contractor. The 3rd of March, 2023. $15,000 for Ellis's business investment that went to his gambling debts. She shifts in her seat, crossing and uncrossing her ankles. You're being clinical about family matters. The 12th of December, 2023. $22,000 for Dad's heart medication that insurance supposedly wouldn't cover. The same month you and Dad took a Caribbean cruise. My mother's face changes, her expression hardening as she realizes I won't be swayed by tears today. She expected emotional vulnerability, the dutiful daughter who always says yes, who crumbles under the weight of family obligation. Instead, she finds a woman who stands tall, whose voice doesn't waver, whose documentation is impeccable. Ellis is in serious trouble, Marlo. Her voice drops to a whisper. He's talking about hurting himself. The legal problems, the embezzlement charges, he needs just one more financial rescue. He's your brother. I retrieve a folder from the desk drawer and slide 2 printed emails across the coffee table. The first, from Ellis to my parents. Mar always caves when I mention feeling desperate. Tell her I'm suicidal, she'll write the check immediately. The second, my father's response. Smart angle. Doreen will handle the approach. My mother's face drains of color. Where did you get those? Her hands shake as she pushes the emails away. The same place I got these. I slide over more documents, screenshots of text messages, bank statements, a timeline of extraction spanning 9 years. You've been planning this for years. She switches tactics with practiced ease. What will people think? The Hendersons, the Millers, everyone will know you abandoned your parents in their golden years. Feel free to tell them everything. I lean forward slightly. I'll share my financial records with those same friends. Let them see exactly how much money you've taken, and what you spent it on. Something crumbles in my mother's expression. Not sadness, the collapse of a strategy that has worked flawlessly for years. You've changed, she says, her voice flat now that manipulation has failed. You're not who we raised you to be. As my mother's tears dried up and her true intentions became clear, I wondered, was completely cutting ties the only way forward? Or should I offer one chance at a relationship without financial support? Sometimes the hardest part isn't leaving, but deciding what to leave open. The doorbell chimes, perfectly on schedule. Miss Greaves? Rachel steps into the apartment with professional efficiency. I'm sorry to interrupt, but your international call with the Sydney office is waiting. They mentioned it's urgent regarding your relocation paperwork. I notice my mother's eyes narrow, calculating. Rachel's arrival isn't a coincidence. Just as Nadine's cease and desist letters are being delivered to my father and Ellis at this exact moment, just as Geneva has implemented security measures preventing any of them from causing a scene at my workplace, my mother stands, gathering her purse with fingers that no longer tremble. Something in her eyes shifts as she realizes I'm not alone, not vulnerable, not without support. For years, they isolated me through obligation. Now, watching Rachel move protectively to my side, my mother sees that strategy has failed too. Your father doesn't know I came, she says at the door, her final card played with desperation. We're selling the house. I say nothing, but my silence speaks volumes. The door closes behind her with a soft click. My phone buzzes with a text from an old family friend. Marlo, your parents are telling concerning stories about you. Is everything all right? Then another from my father's cousin in Oregon. Ellis told me you're refusing to help with his medical bills, but he told Janet it was legal troubles. What's going on? The manipulation machine is breaking down, stories contradicting one another as the truth emerges. Rachel squeezes my shoulder. You did great. For the first time since this family crisis began, I feel something unexpected. Not guilt, not sadness, but the lightness of standing on solid ground. Surrounded not by blood relations, but by people who actually care about my well-being. My calendar notification pings. The final departure for Sydney is upcoming. As Rachel leaves, I check my email to find an unexpected legal document has arrived, but that's a battle for tomorrow. 2 days later, the manila envelope lands on my kitchen table with a soft thud. Legal documents peek from the torn edge where I ripped it open, black and white pages stark against the maple wood. I scan the heading, Complaint for Recovery of Unpaid Loans. My parents are suing me. The coffee in my mug grows cold as I page through the hastily assembled lawsuit. Their attorney barely bothered with coherence. One paragraph claims I borrowed money for a business venture, while another insists the funds were for personal use. Dates contradict each other. Amounts fluctuate wildly. On page 4, the truth slips through. My parents emptied their retirement accounts to pay the attorney's retainer. Ellis joined the suit, claiming psychological damage from my abandonment when he needed family most. I noticed the court date with a sharp intake of breath, the exact day of my Sydney departure. Not a coincidence. Classic, I mutter, reaching for my phone. Nadine answers on the second ring. Let me guess, they're suing you. Within an hour, I'm in her office, spreading documents across her desk. Bank statements, emails, recorded conversations where my mother assured me the roof money was an absolute emergency. The evidence file is 6 inches thick. 9 years of meticulous record-keeping I never thought I'd need. Nadine reviews the last document, then removes her reading glasses. This isn't a lawsuit, Marlo. It's harassment. We'll have it dismissed before you even pack your suitcase. Her prediction proves correct. The preliminary hearing lasts 23 minutes 2 days later. The judge, a silver-haired woman with steel-rimmed glasses, barely glances at my parents' attorney before speaking. Counsel, these claims are contradictory on their face. Did you even review this complaint before filing it? Her tone carries the weariness of someone who's seen too many frivolous cases, dismissed with prejudice, and I strongly advise against any further actions of this nature. Standing beside Nadine as the judge exits, I feel something unfamiliar power, not the fleeting satisfaction of being right, but the solid ground of being protected. By my own foresight, by the truth I documented when instinct told me something wasn't right. We could counter-sue, Nadine suggests quietly. Malicious prosecution, harassment, you'd win. I consider it briefly, watching my parents and Ellis huddle with their dejected attorney across the courtroom. No, I decide. I don't want revenge, I want peace. The courtroom empties slowly. Nadine heads to her next appointment with a squeeze of my arm. I gather my belongings, bracing myself for the walk to the parking garage. I don't make it past the hallway. They're waiting by the water fountain, my parents and Ellis. A small ambush party, with my father taking point. After all we've done for you, Harold begins, voice pitched to carry to the bystanders lingering in the corridor. This is how you repay family? His words hang in the air between us. The old Marlowe would have crumbled, offered apologies, maybe even written a check, but she doesn't live here anymore. Without speaking, I open my briefcase and withdraw a cream-colored envelope. I hold it out, and after a moment's hesitation, my father takes it. What's this? He asks, suspicion narrowing his eyes. Everything. I reply, my voice steady. Every check, every wire transfer, every reason you gave me that turned out to be a lie. My mother edges closer as Harold pulls out the spreadsheet. The top line reads, Financial Extractions, 2016 to 2025. Below stretches a detailed accounting. Dates, amounts, stated purposes, actual uses when discovered. The final line shows the total. $276,450. Ellis peers over our father's shoulder. His face drains of color when he sees the sum. Jesus, he whispers. The hallway has grown quiet. A court reporter pauses near the water fountain, pretending not to listen. Two attorneys slow their pace. My family seems to physically diminish under the weight of documented truth. You didn't just lie, I say, my voice carrying in the silence. You coached each other on how to do it. I found the emails where you discussed the best approach to get the surgery money. I meet each pair of eyes in turn. And I always gave because I thought we were a family. But families don't assign victims. I close my briefcase with a soft click and walk past them toward the elevators. No one follows. 2 weeks later, as I complete my packing for Sydney, news trickles through mutual connections. Ellis faces 22 months in federal prison for the embezzlement charges he tried to cover up with my money. My parents are selling their house to pay mounting legal fees, reportedly moving in with a cousin in rural Nevada. The information lands differently than I expected. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just a hollow ache where anger used to live. I wonder, watching the movers load the last of my boxes, if healing is possible once the manipulation is stripped away. Can genuine love grow in soil so poisoned by deceit? The question follows me to the airport, where I check in for my 14-hour flight to a new life. As I settle into the international terminal, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. You deserved better. I hope one day we deserve forgiveness. I stare at the screen, boarding pass to Sydney warm in my other hand, and wonder which one of them sent it and if it matters. The morning light spills across my bedroom floor in ribbons of gold and amber. I stretch, savoring the quiet of Sunday morning in my Darling Harbour apartment. 18 months in Sydney, and I still catch my breath at the view sailboats dotting the water like white butterflies against blue silk. My phone remains silent. No desperate texts about broken water heaters or emergency dental work. No calculated guilt trips disguised as family connection. I pull on shorts and a light sweater, grab my book, and head to Rossini's, the corner cafe where Paolo saves my usual table on the terrace. The ritual feels sacred in its simplicity: coffee, with a perfect crema, warm croissant, conversations that expect nothing beyond the pleasure of connection. Morning, Marlowe. Kira waves from her table, auburn hair catching the sunlight. She's our marketing director, brilliant and forthright. Joining us for brunch? I nod, feeling the easy smile that no longer feels like a mask. Wouldn't miss it. At work, my team has just landed the Wellington account, my strategy earning accolades from the Singapore headquarters. but the professional victory feels secondary to yesterday's quiet triumph. Thomas, our new analyst, had confided about his mother's escalating financial emergencies. I recognized the familiar patterns, the calculated timing of requests, the subtle manipulation. "You can help without becoming an ATM," I told him, my voice steady where once it might have wavered. "Here's what I wish someone had told me years ago." Later that afternoon, I whisk egg, cream, and Gruyere in a large bowl, my movements precise and unhurried. The quiche for tonight's dinner party rises golden in my oven, filling the apartment with the scent of caramelized onions. The irony doesn't escape me preparing the same dish I once carried to those Sunday ambushes back home. The doorbell chimes. Geneva arrives first, looking relaxed after her flight from headquarters, hair now streaked with elegant silver. She brings Australian wine and stories of office politics I'm glad to have escaped. "You've created something beautiful here," she says, surveying the harbor. View Terrace, where I've set the table with bright blue placemats and fresh flowers. My colleagues arrive in pairs and small groups. When Simon asks about my family, I answer without the old knot in my stomach. "We're estranged." I say simply, "I learned that family isn't just who you're born to, it's who sees you clearly and values what they see." His nod holds understanding, not pity. I stand taller, making easy eye contact across the table, my laugh coming freely when Kira describes her disastrous virtual date. Later, glasses raised against the backdrop of city lights reflecting on dark water, we toast. "To boundaries that protect peace," Geneva says, eyes meeting mine with quiet understanding. On my laptop screen, Nadine joins from New York, legal briefs visible in her background. She's helped 3 more women navigate financial exploitation since my case. The professional connections that sustained me when blood ties failed have deepened into something richer than obligation. Tuesday evening finds me at the community center, leading a financial literacy workshop for women rebuilding their lives after leaving difficult situations. Their faces reflect my past, the hesitation, the guilt, the fear. But in their questions, I also see my future. Back home, I finally respond to that text from months ago, the one I've read 100 times without answering. "I hope one day you do too." The 3 words feel neither bitter nor triumphant. I already have. Morning breaks over Sydney Harbor in shades of pink and gold. I stand on my balcony, coffee warming my hands, face peaceful and resolute. The weight is gone not just from my bank account, but from my shoulders, my voice, my future. I used to think love meant giving until I realized they only loved what I gave. I didn't leave to punish them. I left to protect what little was left of me. If you discovered your family was using you as their personal ATM, would you confront them directly or walk away quietly like I did? Would you seek closure through confrontation or find peace through distance? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.